is back on the campaign trail tonight as he continues to deal with the fallout from interviews he did with journalist Bob Woodward.
That's right. During the interview, President Trump admitted to playing down coronavirus. Now Joe Biden and Senator Kamala Harris are pouncing on the president's own words.
And KCAL 9 political reporter Tom Wade is here live with the latest on that. Tom?
Hi there, Juan and Pat. Well, President Trump and his allies are trying to convince the American people the president did not play down the virus, even though there is a recording of him saying just that. Today, President Trump tried to deflect blame from the recordings and attacked his rival, Joe Biden. President Trump tonight holding one of his signature rallies, this time in the battleground state of Michigan. Once again, little social distancing and few masks. This just a day after recordings of him emerged where he admitted to playing down the dangers of the virus. Today, Trump was confronted about the recordings.
Why did you lie to the American people, and why should we trust what you have to say now?
Such a terrible question, and the phraseology, I didn't lie. What I said is we have to be calm, we can't be panicked.
But here's the president on March 19th speaking with Bob Woodward.
Well, I think Bob really, to be honest with you,
sure, I want you to.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
There were more stunning admissions, these on February 7th.
You just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. This is deadly stuff.
After he made that statement, Trump held 6 packed indoor rallies with thousands of people over the next month, most of whom were not wearing masks or practicing social distancing. The president denied any responsibility.
And this is China's fault.
And blamed Woodward for not publishing sooner.
If Bob Woodward thought what I said was bad, then he should have immediately, right after I said it, gone out to the authorities.
It's unclear what Mr. Trump meant by going to the authorities. Joe Biden's campaign sees the comments as a pivotal moment in the race, an admission that thousands of lives could have been saved if Mr. Trump had spoken up.
He waved a white flag. He walked away. He didn't do a damn thing. Think about it. Think about what he did not do. And it's almost criminal.
Democrats were already on the air this morning with a new ad.
I wanted to always play it down.
Running mate California Senator Kamala Harris kept up the offensive while courting African-American voters today in Miami.
This is the same man, Donald Trump, who for days, weeks, if not months thereafter, called it a hoax, dismissed the seriousness of it to the point that he suggested people should not wear masks.
Claremont McKenna College professor of government and political analyst Jack Pitney says the Biden camp has a strong line of attack on President Trump, using his own words against him.
The contrast between what Trump said to Bob Woodward and what he said in public is very damaging to him. With the impeachment, you had Ukraine, very complicated. Most people couldn't find Ukraine on a map. Other controversies remote from people's lives. This time, Trump's opponents have a very, very simple 4-word message. Trump lied, people died.
At Trump's rally in Michigan, Democrats circled the airport where Trump spoke with a mobile billboard blaring the audio of the president's interview with Woodward. But Trump supporters there said they had no issue with the president's response to the virus. And one man said, quote, "I think he did a wonderful job." Reporting live in the newsroom, I'm Tom Waite. Juan, back to you.